Hello, people. Welcome to Incfrog SME Keynote. Today, we have a very special friend of mine, Indrojit Saha. Indrojit is the founder and director of CUBIX Educational Institute Private Limited. CUBIX is a big brand when it comes to learning and development in the eastern part of the country. And let me tell you something about Indrojit. He is a MBA graduate from MBI Gurgaon. He is the chief mentor for logical reasoning and data interpretation, and students really love him. I love him for the way he mentors. And there's a very interesting catch about Indrojit. Indrojit is also currently working as the HR consultant with the Times of India. So, Indrojit, welcome to Incfrog SME Keynote. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Utsav. Thank you for all the good words, all the kind words.
You deserve it, man.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
See, we have we all are really in a position now that we really cannot negotiate with, right? We all are locked
Right,
up in our homes, and even if we are visiting our offices, we won't say that we are going to office, we are visiting our office
right,
because we have
right.
lockdowns from
Yeah,
time to time,
yeah.
right? So I think that there has been a huge mental impact apart from economic impact. What do you think about it?
Yeah, of course. I think the first thing that comes to our mind is, I mean, this is not an ordinary time. I mean, this is a very challenging time for all of us, and this is something which is globally the same. I won't say, I mean, this is specific to a geography or specific to a demography, but I think this is a crisis which the entire world is facing. The entire world is up to that.
Right.
So I think these are very trying times, very testing times, and that's where everyone, I mean, whether it's like the student community, whether it's like, and when I say student community, starting from the kids and even to the industry professionals, even to everyone in the society, I think everyone is thinking in an innovative way. I mean, it's all about sustenance. It's all about, I mean, of course, keeping well-being and health as the first priority, but at the same time, how to sustain this phase, because
Right.
I mean, these kind of phases are not normal. This kind of phases are typically, I mean, when it's like on a longer stretch of time, I think this kind of phase is very demotivating for
And it's very
every.
uncertain. The biggest point is that
It's
it's very uncertain.
absolutely, yeah,
You do not know where this is
absolutely.
going, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no timeline to this, so
Right.
that's I think is the bigger concern, because I mean, and specifically humans as an animals, I think we are a social animal, so we like to interact with people. That's one of the most important factors of our livelihood. I think this is one thing which is missing since the last 6 months in India at least. But I think the bottom line is that we don't know the timeline to that extent.
So how is Cubics coping up with the situation? Because you have students who
Uh,
visit your centers, right?
So what we have done is that right from the beginning, when the lockdown started setting in India and in Calcutta, so we have transitioned successfully within a turnaround time of 2 days. I mean, that was something really we were very proud of, and even the students were also very excited to see that they are not missing a single class from their schedule.
That's
So I
great.
think so. What they were doing in the brick and mortar setup, the same thing they started doing it from the next week onwards in the online platform. The good part is that in the online platform, I mean, there are, I mean, while of course there are certain things which you cannot deliver, I mean, compared to a brick and mortar setup. But then again, I mean, there are certain advantages. For example, something like a cloud recording of the videos.
Right.
So it's like a very handy thing for the students, and we have got a good feedback from the students that because there is a cloud recorded thing, so they are not missing any class as such, and the repetition of the classes is like n number of times. I mean, so
Right.
if you are like, if you are attending a live class and still you want to revisit that class, so it's just one click and you can revisit this entire class. You can just revise the concepts once again. So I think that's the thing. So we have transitioned them into the online format so that they are not missing any classes. And at the same time, they're coping up well. So for a few of the batches, the syllabus is on the verge of ending.
Okay.
So that's how we have transitioned it. So for the students also, I mean, it's a new challenge. It's a new experience altogether. But I think given the circumstances, it's like that's the way out.
But as you say that it's a new transformation, right? It's a new thing for students as well. But I was reading somewhere that in the year 2017, the US companies, they were hitting a learning curve of around 77% as compared to that of the previous year, right? So
Mhm.
don't you think that
This is
India
the
is a little
e-learning you are
late?
talking about.
Yeah, I'm talking
This is
about
the
e-learning.
e-learning you are talking
Right,
about.
right.
Okay.
So
Okay.
don't you think that we are a little late as a country to, because whenever I ask someone, so it's a surprise for a lot of people that we have never thought of doing online classes like this. But then why should it be the case? I mean, we should have been ready for this, isn't it? What do you think?
So I mean, to be honest, I don't think that I mean we are too much late. The only thing is that because of this pandemic coming in, I think it has given it has given a push to this entire
It
thing,
has accelerated.
but it has accelerated the entire thing. But
Right,
I think the online mode in India was always there. I mean, of course, I mean, there were certain challenges when I compare with the Western countries. For example, the
right.
biggest challenge is about the net connectivity.
Hmm.
For example, when we talk about any exam in India, I mean, even from starting from the school education to something like the preparatory examinations, for example, say UPSC, for example, Union
Right,
Public Service Commission. If you see, so there's a lot of the entire audience is not restricted to an urban population. So we
right,
have a huge rural strength also. So where I mean, whenever we think of any specific mode of education, so it has to be all inclusive. So
correct.
that's where I think so. Gradually, we started off with the urban population as long back as probably say 5 years from now. So 2015-16 online education, yes, it was there. So if you talk about YouTube channels, the videos, yes, it was there, but of
Right.
course not to that extent, because at that point of time technologically probably we were still a little a couple of miles to go ahead. So that's why I think now that this push has come in, I think this is where a time where digitally also India is on the rise. So I think the net connectivity, the internet connection, the basic things, for
Basic
example, the
things.
the smartphone penetration in the rural market specifically, so those have gone up. And I think the only thing, I mean, while these are like crisis times, these are not the very good times, but at the same time I think these are definitely certain, there are positives to look forward to,
Hmm.
because an online education like a thing, I mean, this is getting into the rural belts as well. So that's a great positive thing in India.
So, you see, before this pandemic situation, last year I was in Singapore and I attended e-learning and development session, and there were really great speakers over there. And a fascinating figure that came across was that the industry is going to reach a whooping $325 billion by 2025, and now everything is global, right? So like people from everywhere is teaching everywhere. Like I can choose my mentor who is back in the United States, or a student in Europe can choose a mentor who is sitting in Singapore or in India, right?
Right.
So the global scale of e-learning, of online education, I think it's fascinating that how people are actually choosing to go to a platform to brush up their skills, to learn new things. So how do you think that it fits into the traditional education system that we are already having, although right now a lot of changes are going on in our country as well. Recently,
Right.
we have seen on over the news that a lot of changes have been made. But still, where do you think does it fit the entire digital transformation model if you compare it with what we already had, the way students used to learn?
Right. So I think see one thing we need to keep in mind, that whenever we talk about education, and be it school education, be it the college education, be it the test prep or an entrance exam preparation and all. So education, so I think it's much broader than only the syllabus or the curriculum of the entire course. I
Right.
think education, I mean, specifically, for example, let us start from the school education per se. Okay, and then I probably would be in a better position to make you understand what actually my core belief is.
Hmm.
For example, I just take example of my daughter who is 3.5 years old. Okay,
Oh,
she has just started her schooling, and her schooling has started on an online mode through Zoom.
okay.
She is in nursery one, so she is doing online classes half an hour a day, 3 days a week. Uh, Now, see, what is important is while the school has started this, because there needs to be some kind of engagement with the student. But I think when you foresee the kids going into the school, it's not only to learn the syllabus or unfold the alphabets or the digits, but I think it is also about meeting new people, making friends.
Very, very
I think which is very very important for kids across all stages of their school life. I mean, be it nursery, be it the middle classes like class 4, 5, 6, and so on. So I think, and going forward, I think, I mean, peer learning is something which is extremely important. So, and you work in the industry, I work in the industry, we know how industry works. It's not
right,
about individual potential or individual capability. What matters more is the teamwork. So the
right,
moment there is a concept of a teamwork, so what happens is that it has to be, again, I mean, all inclusive. So you need to connect with the people correctly. So you need to have that psychological balance to interact with the people, so to understand someone in front of you. And
right,
all those actually make up the entire thing, and which actually starts from as basic as a school education. So for example, so when you go to school, you meet like 60, 100 odd other students, you are with them. So for example, any of the extracurriculars that you are participating in, any of the school, for example, the classroom program you are participating in. So I think a huge impact on a student is also in terms of the peer that they have. As you move on, so for example, if because we are mentors for the MBA students, so for example, the crux of an MBA program, what we always say is, okay, so when you go in for an MBA program, say in any of the IIMs, so you actually not only learn the classroom nuances, but what you do is that you end up doing a lot of networking, because in a
right,
batch of 400 students, you have 400 seniors, you have 400 juniors, and you have 400 peers. So basically, an MBA curriculum gives you an opportunity to interact with 1200 odd people, so which cannot be combined into only the classroom curriculum as such,
right,
because it's much broader than that. Now the
right,
moment when I take a look at something like an online education, see, online education throughout has always focused on the subject matter. It has always
right.
focused on the concepts, and because it's not possible to create a virtual alignment with all the psychological needs of a student. So
Hmm.
it's probably not possible, at least not what we foresee in near future. Probably going forward, that might be the case. So where you do not have a brick and mortar setup, but still you are really equally engaged with your peers. But
Correct.
right now, if I take a look at the online platforms, the online education globally, so what I see is that yes, as you correctly said, so I as a student can definitely connect to a mentor of my choice, which is
Right.
across geography, across the globe. But again, I mean, the restriction would always be on the curriculum, will
Mhm.
always be on the topic, will always be on the technical expertise or the technical knowledge that you take out from that curriculum. So for example, we prepare for CAT. So when we are doing the offline classes or the classroom program, the brick and mortar setup, see, the engagement with the student is not only about the how to solve a sum. Okay, so because it's more about a strategy formulation, and in fact, I mean, for few of the students, and in fact the best of the students, it's more about motivating them to their dreams, which at times looks distant. So I
Right.
think this kind of a motivation session actually happens when you are like in touch with the student. So there is a physical classroom presence, you are having the student in front of you, so you can actually know his body language. So there are many things, I mean, through which you motivate. So just like I said, peer learning is one. I also think that the significance difference between a teacher and a mentor, that's where it happens. So in my view, you can have very good teachers in the online platform.
Hmm.
Mentors you can only get in the offline setup.
That's very well said. See, I have seen one more thing on online platforms, and I think that a lot of Western institutions are also doing this. The concept of gamification, right?
Mhm.
Because we were discussing before this call that
Right.
how people are actually perceiving failure, because these days, as we see that students are very sensitive, and when we were kids, we used to get hit by our teachers, like, why didn't you do your
Right.
homework? But these days you
Absolutely.
cannot do that, right?
Right.
So gamification is one process of, I think, they're replacing, and they're giving targets, and you earn a badge, you earn this element. So what do you think? Like, is it really helping?
No, definitely. I mean, see, the point is that okay. So gamification. See, the entire objective of gamification is to create attraction. Okay,
Right.
and so whenever I mean students specifically, I'm talking about the student community again and again because that's the audience that we have structured for this meeting. So as students, something which is attractive, something which attracts them, even for the kids also. I
Mhm.
mean, that's where the harnessing the interest of a student is very important. Okay,
Correct.
so I mean, if you see, I mean, the world has moved quite far from what it used to be, and including India. So in our times, for example, I mean, if you have a little bit of merit, so go for science, go for engineering. That was the normal course of action. I mean, anyone not taking up engineering, so you are tagged in the society as someone who is not good at studies. So
Hmm.
that was what it was. Probably a decade back, but now things have changed. So I think the entire mode of gamification. So what it has done is that because it has made the package attractive, so it nurtures the talent within a kid. So he actually then probably is in a better position to understand that okay, so this is my area of interest, so
Right.
probably I can do something on this lines. So there are a lot of courses, so probably we constantly take career counseling sessions and all. And I think the kids nowadays are quite smart compared to what our times was. I mean, they're
Right.
very clear. And I think this entire thing has come in because the world is now within a smartphone. I mean, you
Right.
have so many options to actually take a look at it. There are like other models, there are modes. So gamification is one part of it. So when you constantly go through these phases over a period of time, what it happens is that you become more broader in your thinking. So you are not
Right.
narrowed down to one point of thing. So I think all these are definitely good moves. So gamification again, I mean, I think nurtures the interest within a kid because he or she finds it to be attractive and spends some time on it. And probably if he or she likes it, so goes on continuing to spend some more time on it. So that's where it is. But again, as I said, I think going forward, what I foresee is that it has to be a blended thing. So,
Right.
so it has to be a mix of both offline as well as online. So while the online platforms can give you certain models like the gamification thing you're talking about,
Hmm.
or choosing your mentors across the globe, or having so many career counseling sessions and all, which it has by the way already done, because as I was saying, the kids are smart nowadays. They already know that these are the future prospects and all. This all has been made possible because of this thing only. But I think once you pick up a specific course, so offline will definitely have its own test.
Definitely. So this is something that I keep thinking. Uh, we say that our attention spans have really reduced over time, like from social media which we used to go through, browse at one point of time. So it's becoming smaller, it's becoming quicker, it's becoming shorter, right? So for example, these days on Facebook people are posting longer updates, and but more or less, if you see at the statistics, the younger generation, they are choosing Instagram, right? Why? Because it has got lesser to see and read, but more to browse and scroll, right? So do you think that this is somehow also affecting the way they learn? Because I see that a lot of courses that are being designed, the course modules are becoming shorter, or maybe they are splitting into smaller and smaller units. So do you think that there is a correlation?
See, I mean, in my view, I think Utsav, the entire process of learning. This is basically very gradual. I mean, you
Right.
cannot. I mean, you cannot change it overnight. I think, as you
Correct.
rightly said, that today's generation is so very low in terms of the attention, and always constantly seeks for new things.
Right.
But I think education, if you see overall per se, I mean, it's a very gradual process because I mean, it is something which is actually developing your attitude towards life. For example, I mean, your school education, anyone, I mean, you pick up anyone, for example, any of the successful entrepreneurs or any of the successful professionals in their own field, whenever you ask them about their mantra to success, I think they will always go back and say about their school education and the college education, because that have been the pillars of their foundation. I mean, that have been their foundation. So I
Right.
think those are the pillars on the basis of which they have developed certain attitude and then taken it from there.
Right. And
So I
many of
think
them are actually school dropouts and university dropouts. Right.
absolutely, yeah. So I think I mean, so this kind of an attitude development when we are talking about does not happen overnight.
Right.
So if you're having very low attention and you are like you all constantly look for newer things, it actually is not going to help you in the long
Exactly.
run.
Right.
In the long run, you have to choose up one specific field. Yes, you can always explore. See, exploration is not bad. So I
Right.
won't say that today's kids should not go into Instagram, should not go into Netflix. No,
Right.
they should. But at the same time, so explore all the possibilities that you have. But then once you pick up something, you have to spend good amount of quality time in that. Otherwise, your
Right.
attitude will not be developed, and you will not be able to do whatever you want to do.
And I think from that point, we actually can match up with the kind of learning opportunities that we have these days, because people actually get to select what they want to study and how they want to study. Because in our
Absolutely.
times, we did not have that independence of choice, right?
Absolutely. See, because of this entire digitization, so what has happened is the entire gamut has been widened. So while
Right.
the core remains the same, see, I mean, as a school student, so my school curriculum, going to the school 5 days a week, interacting with my teachers, that always that has been the core. So the
Right.
nucleus remains whatever it is. But I think because of this digitization, what has come in is that there are multiple other parameters which start coming in. So
Right.
you can interact probably. So you are a school kid of class 8, for example, say, and you can actually interact with a professor sitting in Harvard. You never know. And you can talk about some area of interest, or you want to know something. For example, you take something like a GMAT or a GRE. The number of takers for a GMAT or GRE has significantly increased over a decade, right? So what it
Right.
was 10 years back is not now, because now people have started getting that feeling that okay, so going abroad, figuring out the education there is important. And this actually takes me back to whatever I started off with, that education as a gamut is much broader. Because when someone takes GMAT and goes for an MBA curriculum in Harvard, I'm not going to say that the MBA curriculum per se at Harvard is very different from an IIM, because the IIMs also use the Harvard case studies, for example, just to give you an
Right.
example. So why do students still prefer to take a GMAT and go abroad? It's because of understanding the culture,
Culture. Right.
because of understanding the diversity. So in a batch, when I'm sitting with 40, 50 odd students, someone is from Europe, someone is from America, someone has come from Africa, someone has come from India. So the overall diversity that you enjoy, the peer learning that you get is something which is unparalleled. So I think going forward, so that's again, I mean, coming back to the same thing, that it's
Right.
education is much more broader, and because of this digitization, yes, it has become more wholesome. But you can never take away the flavor of an offline program from here. From
Definitely, definitely not. And I think from there only, because see, when we create learning management systems for our clients, so what we have seen that many a times they upload courses or they upload materials in multiple languages, right? The same course material. So
right,
I think
right,
today it is a very clear picture for me when you talk about diversity, when you talk about the community, because everything actually comes down to one whole thing, that is the community that you are serving and the community in which you are learning, right?
absolutely,
So I
absolutely,
think it's a great opportunity in the digital space, but at the same time, like you said, meeting with new people, actually conversing with new people, that also is very important. And online
absolutely,
to some extent can help. Online is the tool, technology is the tool, but it can never really replace the human to human interaction. that's what
absolutely,
that's what you're
absolutely.
trying to
Yes,
place, right?
yes. The crux remains same,
Right.
but so offline the flavor has to be there. Otherwise, going forward, probably we would say that there is no need of a school. So the
Right.
entire school
Right.
can be done in a smartphone, which is not possible.
Which is not
So you
possible,
know
right?
that, yeah. So there will always be importance of brick and mortar setup. So that will always be there. Yes, through the online platforms, but it can be made is more wholesome.
Right. So now I would quickly ask you something, because this is something I was thinking about you, and
Mhm.
I really wanted to know that how you do it.
Yeah,
So I got
yeah,
to know that your CAT scores over the past 3 years were like
yeah.
this. So it was like 99.27%, then 99.31%, and last year it was 99.32%. My goodness, are you a human being? How do you do that?
No, it's not about that. So see, I mean, all of the mentors at CUBIX, we make it a mandate that everyone should be appearing for the exams,
Okay,
because one thing, as we said, I mean, we are proud to call ourselves mentors rather than teachers. And you understand the difference. So as
right,
mentors, I think it's our call of duty to actually sit for the exams and test the waters. So spend those 3 hours which a student is also spending. So it's very easy to say a strategy, or it's very easy to say a student that, okay, so do this, do not do that. In
right,
the exam, I'll pick up the easy questions, leave the harder ones. But actually, when you are in a time test, so you spend those 3 hours, and CAT as an exam starts with an English, moves to a logical reasoning, ends
right,
with a maths. So every section is has its own flavor. So it, like, I mean, it's a very very tough exam in the sense that it's a very demanding exam, because everything is application oriented. So it's a very demanding exam. So anyone who is not having a clear strategy is not going to do good. The only reason that we have cracked the code, because see, I mean, for us, clocking a 99 plus percentile is not that tough, because we have cracked the code. We exactly know how to do it, what to do it, and then the results will automatically fall. And that's what we also train the students for. That it's see, I mean, as you were saying, and so for anyone who suddenly sees a 99.32,
right.
99.31, suddenly would actually see that. I mean, how is it possible? Because see, I mean, if you actually go in depth and start figuring out the scores and figuring out the percentiles, you will know that it's not that tough if you have cracked the code. So it's all about cracking the codes. Over the years, we have done that. Otherwise, see, I mean, of course, you can say that. I mean, there are good days at office, there are bad days at office. So how is it possible that someone scores a consistent 99 plus in every year?
Right,
The only reason is that there's a code to crack, and if you can crack it, you know exactly what to do. The only thing is that 99 point something, so that something might differ, but
right.
overall 99 plus is a sure shot. So that's what I think. There's a code. You have to strategize it correctly. You exactly need to know what to do, what not to do, and then automatically it will follow. And that's the same thing with which we train the students.
So as they say that code is like poetry in our industry,
Right.
like so there also we crack a code, and you are also cracking a code. So people who are watching
Absolutely.
us right now, if you want to crack the code, don't let him go. Go to the CUBIX
Yeah.
website.
Exactly.
Don't miss this opportunity. Go to the CUBIX
Right.
website, and you will find him. So Indrojit, I think it was a great session, and the touchstone that comes back every time is that innovation is the key. You cannot stop innovating. Number two is you have
Right.
to crack the code, and number three is community is very important, and number four is
Absolutely.
keep digital only as a tool. Don't make it
Right.
a
A way
core
of
thing,
life.
a way of life.
Yeah. Yeah.
It can be
Yes.
a
Yes.
part of life. It cannot be a way of life,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Absolutely. It
So
can be a very valuable part of
yeah,
life, but of
definitely.
course not the entire way of life.
That's my bread and butter.
Yeah.
At Incfrog, it's our bread and butter. So
Definitely.
right. But in our digital sector also, we always strive to create things that actually build a community, right? So
Right.
again, it comes down to one thing, that okay, if geographically we cannot reach someone because we are people, we are not machines, so
Right.
we take help from machines. That's it. But
Absolutely. Absolutely.
ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to look back to our family, we have to come back to our home, and I think that's beautiful. So
Right.
thank you. You have been an asset to the series, and thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much. So just Utsav, so I will just take 1 minute for a
Yes, please,
closing note,
please, please.
and this is entirely for our audience. I
Right.
mean,
Yes,
those
please.
who are viewing this and are going to view this. I mean, so to be honest, so as we were discussing about the offline versus the digital and so on. So just to give you an anecdote and an interesting one, which actually gets applied to each one of the audience. Uh, so I'm sure that every one of us right now, we have a college WhatsApp group. I'm sure
Right.
you have one.
Yes, I
I
do.
have one. Yeah. uh, just just take 1 minute pause, and this goes to all of our audience, and try to map a college canteen adda, what we say, with that of the college WhatsApp conversation that we have in the group. And you yourself will know that what is the difference that we are talking about.
Definitely.
Yeah. So that's on the closing note. And I think if
That
the
was
audience can
beautiful.
actually map it, that if the audience can actually map it in their mind, they actually know the difference that we were trying to portray in the last half an hour program.
Right, Indrojit. So thank you so much once again.
Thank you so much. Thank
And
you. Thank you.
people, please stay tuned to Incfrog and also to CUBIX. And if you want to learn more, we have our website. So please Google us up. We are pretty popular people on the search engine. So, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So, and,
Absolutely.
and, and Indrojit, you have been sipping that cup of coffee, and I really miss having that cup of coffee with you. So, I
Yeah,
just hope that,
surely we'll
this
get it.
situation gets better very soon and we get to meet in person again. Right?
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
thank you so much, and thank
Thank you
you,
so much,
people.
Utsav.
We
Thank you.
have been having a great session today, and please stay tuned. Thank you.
Thank you.